In this excerpt from Chapter 5 of John Bolinger's latest book, Come On Fluffy, This Ain't No Ballet, you'll be transported back to the days when the prospect of learning to play a musical instrument was daunting, to say the least. Perhaps this chapter would be more aptly titled, The Gospel, Accordion to John.
Grandma Bolinger came to our house every few months to spend 2 weeks with us. She would stay with other relatives too, filling up her years in family guest rooms and bringing to each house her imperious and unbridled judgments on politics, cuisine, television shows, music, and fashion. Admittedly, her taste in clothing was a bit geriatric. But the problem was that she tried to impose that taste upon the rest of the family. Most of her views were set in stone. One visit began on Halloween night of 1957, when Grandma B arrived wearing an orange cardigan sweater, a black skirt with a large sequined poodle, and saddle shoes with bobby socks. Her hair in a long ponytail secured by pink pop beads. She entered our house with her black handbag and luggage carried by the cab driver. And there was a deafening silence suggesting we were waiting for Grandma to say, "Trick or treat!" The fact is, I would remember that entrance for all Halloweens afterward and recall it later as a "whatever happened to Baby Jane" moment. Whenever Grandma B came to our house, we knew that there were certain television programs to be watched at her request. Perry Como made her swoon like the teenager she had appeared to be on Halloween, but his singing was like a powerful sedative to me and my siblings. Grandma, however, was always riveted by his crooning, so that no interruptions were looked upon favorably, even coughing, sneezing, or trips to the bathroom. She seemed to have similarly romantic feelings for Lawrence Welk and for James Arness, who played Sheriff Matt Dillon on her other TV addiction, Gunsmoke. Her final TV requirement was the Jack Benny Hour.
Yes, it's the Jack Benny Hour.
During which every gesture by Mr. Benny threw the woman into gales of laughter. During these shows, my brother David and I would exchange looks of wonder, disgust, and facial contortions suggesting severe stomach cramps. Even now, I blame Lawrence Welk for the next turn of events, which began with Myron Floren's virtuoso accordion performance of Lady of Spain and Alice Blue Gown, which impressed Grandma B so much that she had to put both hands over her heart. I was right there in our living room when these performances were watched, but little did I realize the long-term effects of Myron's fingers flying over those accordion keys. After dinner one evening, Grandma B announced that she thought it was time for me to take music lessons and that she would pay for them the first year and even purchase the instrument. The noose was now growing tighter. But I didn't feel its grip until it was declared that the instrument would be an accordion. The strains of Lady of Spain began at that moment to haunt me for the next year. It was a done deal. Any hope I had now of escaping those music lessons was like leaving the porch light on for Jimmy Hoffa. I was doomed. My music lessons began in March of 1958 on a Saturday morning when my instructor came to our house, where the lessons would be given at the same time each week, 10 o'clock sharp, for 30 minutes. I discovered then that her full name was Diane Arlene Claremont, and that she had actually played the accordion professionally for a couple of years at a nightclub in Chicago. My first thought on the subject was how terribly far down the woman had fallen. I pictured her once wearing sparkling evening gowns and playing encores of Lady of Spain for an intoxicated but affluent audience who would stand and applaud while throwing kisses and $10 bills. Now here she was in our living room of shabby furniture, whose glory had also suffered the ravages of time among the cheap art reproductions like our faded prints of The Laughing Cavalier by Franz Hals and The Blue Boy by Thomas Gainsborough. Despite my heart going out to poor Miss Claremont and my wanting desperately to please her by doing well at my lessons, I was a consummate failure at the accordion, able to play only 2 songs that people recognized, Silent Night and She'll Be Coming Round the Mountain. So, unless it was the Yuletide season, that left only 1 song to play when visiting relatives asked for a performance. It got run into the ground pretty fast. and my chances of ever playing Lady of Spain with any competency were as great as my chances of playing Flight of the Bumblebee, starring on the Lawrence Welk Show, or appearing on stage at Carnegie Hall. The other thing that permanently scarred my ego was that our Cocker Spaniel, Topper, howled to go outside as soon as I even picked up the accordion. And my family would all leave the house on Saturday mornings at 9:58. Always on the pretext of some group errand or on the grounds that they didn't want to disturb the flow of my music lesson. Yeah, right. During the year that I took those lessons, Miss Claremont never committed suicide. But I imagined more than once her limp body being found in some motel room, her accordion unfolded and sparkling on the bed next to a note, explaining her utter revulsion at having to teach music to a boy whose rendition of Volare took 6 weeks for him to learn, and another 6 weeks for her to erase from her memory.
Copies of John Bolinger's newest book, Come On Fluffy, This Ain't No Ballet, can be ordered on Amazon.com or go to mylazyrivers.com.